And we're back, like we never left. Welcome to the Confessions of a Not So Dangerous Mind podcast. I'd like to thank you all for joining me in the car on this New Year's Eve 2024. Once again, we're going to skip past all that promotional jazz and get right to the guts of the episode. Since it's New Year's Eve, I am thinking of endings, like the ending of a year, and new beginnings. And as a much younger person, I never really got why people were celebrating. And maybe to some extent, I still don't understand why the celebration, why a new year is something to be celebrated. Like, these are things that never connected for me. I kind of get it more now. But if you've had a terrible year and you can't wait to flip the calendar, okay. But there are people who plan to go to New Year's Eve in the city to see the ball drop months in advance, and maybe they're having fantastic years. But there is still a sense of celebration. It never quite clicked for me. But when I think about previous New Year's Eves and my thoughts, I haven't been to that many New Year's Eve parties. I've been to a couple. I went to one kind of memorable. I think it was 1981 to 82. I was still a little kid. I was 7, 8 years old in Massapequa. I guess I would have just turned 8 if it was 81 into 82. And so we went to our neighbors, Harriet and Bruce. We went to their house and we stayed to watch the ball drop and we came home. But I just remember that it was a fun party. There were a lot of other kids there. We got to play video games. So I guess I was associating New Year's Eve with having fun just for the sake of having fun, rather than there being a deeper meaning. We just celebrated Christmas and Hanukkah is still ongoing. It's the way that I'm wired. I always need a reason. And there are people for whom always needing a reason will cause them to stress and obsess over stuff that isn't very important. I honestly haven't spent that much time wondering, why do we celebrate this way and that way? But when I think of this year in particular, where I was a year ago today, now I'm not in the same geographical location. But when I look back on 2023, last year at this time, I came to the conclusion that the first part of the year had been fantastic. Specifically, the first 2 months were amazing. And the last 4 months were tricky, but not bad. And the in-between, the March, April, May, June, July, were pretty rough. Because as I've talked about, I nearly didn't get to close on the house in quorum because I didn't time things properly. I didn't ask the right questions. And last year was simply a sigh of relief that so many things went wrong. But when the chips were down, I managed to find a little bit of backbone and just reached a point where I refused to keep backing up and just started saying, I'm going forward one way or the other. I don't give a fuck. I'm not quitting. I'm not giving up. So there was a little bit of me patting myself on the back for not throwing in the towel, for not allowing 2023 to become a complete disaster. It was a year with disastrous elements, but then there were moments of grace and moments where I feel like I made my dad and his dad, both of whom are no longer with us, where I would have made them proud. That I did not buckle in the face of failure. That I simply refused to accept that I had failed. It's not over. It's never over. Like a scene out of a movie. It ain't over till it's over, Yogi Berra. The irony, if you want to use the word irony in this context, is 2024 did not go in any way at all the way that I expected it to. I'm going to give you a little bit of inside baseball here. If you had asked me at the end of 2023, did I think that I was going to be making a lot of money from my YouTube channel within a year? I would have said, yeah. That hasn't been the case. I am still banging away, no pun intended, but I'm still knocking away, and I've gotten a much bigger following on the audio platforms, and I do, as some of you have seen, I have a decent following as far as YouTube subscribers, over 3,200 now. But in order to actually monetize, you need a lot of what they call watch hours. And the way that YouTube measures this is a little bit weird, because at various points I should have been able to qualify to monetize, but the way that they kind of calculated it has, even now, has left me short. So I thought that I was going to be making a very good secondary income from the YouTube channel, and as of right now, I'm still just having a fucking blast, sharing my love for movies and fitness, and hoping to maybe impart the occasional bits of general wisdom to you out there. There was a time where I simply was a certain age, but had not really had the kind of life experiences that you would have expected from someone my age. And I'm specifically speaking until I was 35 plus, almost 36. Actually, no, 36. It wasn't until my age 36 year that I really began to live and have the kinds of all-encompassing life experiences, good, bad, and ugly, where I actually could maybe impart some worldly life wisdom, whether it's from traveling, whether it's from having loved and lost more than once, sorry to say, whether it's from experiencing certain segments of life that not everybody gets to experience. And in 2024, where I started the year and where I ended it up, I couldn't have imagined anything about this year. There are things that happen in a positive sense that pretty much blew me away. And then there are negatives that I still can't believe I got myself into. I can't believe that after surviving the almost endless mistakes that I made in the middle portion of 2023, in immortal words of Roger Ebert, when he and Gene Siskel reviewed the first Scream movie, and they both talked about they enjoyed the film, they both gave it thumbs up. And I remember Ebert saying, he was describing the film as images and scenes from the movies were playing. That's how Siskel and Ebert, thumbs up, thumbs down, it's how they used to do the reviews, where they would talk about the film in broad strokes, and they would show maybe a clip from the trailer, but whatever it might be. But what Ebert said about the movie Scream, it is so accurate to my 2024. So if 2023 was the biggest single year as far as learning experience for me, in the world of the movie Scream, all of the main characters, Stu, the different characters, the Nev Campbell character, Skeet Ulrich, and Matthew Lillard, all of them, Rose McGowan, Henry Winkler, they all know the tropes. They all know the horror movie genre, slasher film, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. So as the late, great Pulitzer Prize winning critic Roger Ebert pointed out, these kids know enough to avoid all of the usual mistakes that people make in this type of film. Another great moment from Roger Ebert, where he talked about in the Friday the 13th movies, the general intelligence level is, all of our friends are being brutally murdered. Let's take off our clothes and go skinny dipping. In the world of the movie Scream, as Ebert so artfully points out, they know enough not to make the usual stupid mistakes that we've seen in Nightmare on Elm Street, in the Friday the 13th series, in the Halloween series, even in the Phantasm series. So what do these kids do? They make new stupid mistakes. 2024 saw me avoid certain dumb errors that I had made in 2023, and I created new stupid mistakes. And what I'm left with is, I'm still unbelievably lucky, because once again, a series of apparent catastrophic occurrences took place, but when things were at their bleakest, something always turned my way. Something always happened to steer me on the right course, even if occasionally it was a very negative outcome. sometimes life is not about achievement. Sometimes it's not even really about surviving. It's a question of every outcome is bad. What's the least bad outcome? It's almost like the geopolitical conundrum. You know, you have a choice of options about what you want to do, and they're all bad. Well, which horrendous option is going to be the least horrendous, and what can we live with? It's sad but true. But I'll give you a little 2024 story. And you're going to think that I'm making this up. That's how dumb it is. So not that long ago, I had an issue where I woke up one morning. This was probably the first week of December, to give you a little perspective. And I didn't talk about it on social media because it's so absurd, but I'm going to tell you this story. This story kind of sums up 2024 for me. Sorry, I'm giggling. See if this... All right, you know what? That's a little bit better. So I woke up first week of December on a random Thursday, and I had the thermostat in the house set for 72. I'm sorry, I'm a baby. I don't like being cold. And I know some people love to be a little chilly, you know, turn the air conditioner, have your central air set for 62 when it's 100 degrees outside, that kind of thing. I don't like to be cold. I am the kind of person who can actually sleep without a blanket. I don't need to bundle up. I don't want to have to bundle up. This is an important point. This is foreshadowing. This is a setup for a payoff. So I woke up one morning and it was 64 degrees in the house, even though I had set it for 72. The central air system wasn't working. Well, what the fuck? How the hell did that happen? Why is my central air system not working? Well, I didn't know. So I called the company that installed the central air system. And when the woman on the phone was very nice, and she said, all right, well, can you explain some of what you're seeing? What's working? You have power? I said, yeah, I have power. I can, create heat in the microwave, but the central air system, there's no air coming out. Everything in the house works, but there's no air coming out. And then she's trying to figure out what the hell this could be. And then I said something which gave her the answer. I said, my fireplace isn't working. And she knew the development where I lived. She said, okay, well, we installed your central air system. But if you're telling me the fireplace isn't working, this issue is not a central air issue. You're going to have to call National Grid. I'm pretty sure that the issue is with them. So here's the making a different mistake, okay? I called National Grid and they told me that my gas service had been cut. And why was my gas service cut? Because way back when I moved in November of 2023, the bill for National Grid, which is not a very big bill, it was not going to me directly. It was still going to the realtor's office. And we actually discovered this error in May, but National Grid would not let me move the bill into my name because reasons. PSEG had no problem letting me put the bill in my name, but National Grid just decided they were going to be assholes. No, the realtor has to do it. So I just started to pay the bill. It's like $40 or $50 a month. I was just paying it by entering the account number because I couldn't create an account. I couldn't do anything other than pay this bill. I wasn't getting it in the mail. I wasn't getting email. It was all ridiculous. Unfortunately, in June, a lot of things went wrong at once. The most important was, in a similar vein, that I allowed my insurance to lapse on the car, and that set forth a period from June into September that was really, really negative stuff. A lot of very bad shit happened. And in that time where I was just scrambling and scrambling and scrambling just to try to dig myself out of one jam after another, I stopped entering my account number with National Grid. I just forgot. Didn't do it. That's why they cut the gas service. They weren't doing it to be assholes. They were trying to get in touch with somebody, but the mail that was going to the realtor's office wasn't getting there because they're not there anymore. It was all bad. Everything was negative. They cut the service. Now, here's the funny part, quote unquote. So when I'm on the phone with the guy and he says, yeah, Mr. Cohen, he explains it. we tried to get in touch with you, but we didn't understand what was going on. He's looking at whatever information he has on his screen. We didn't want this to happen, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, okay. It's over a matter of $196. That's all it was. I said, okay, I see where I owe. I'm looking at the account because he showed me how to get, to see the account and what I owed. I said, I can just pay this while we're on the phone, and then can you change the account into my name? He says, yeah, of course. So I pay. All right. It says that the payment went through. He says, yes, I see it on the screen. You don't owe anything. Okay. Now, in my mind, in my gas service virgin mind, I feel like this is going to be, I go too long paying an Optimum bill and they temporarily cut the service, or heaven forbid, you have a power loss. Somebody's just going to hit the switch. Now, the weather had gotten cold. And I say to the guy, I said, okay, is the service going to be back on when we hang up the phone? And he says, well, no, I have to send a tech over. It's not as easy as flipping a switch. I said, oh, okay. So can a guy get here later today? The guy didn't arrive for 9 days. So there I am with a fully paid bill, freezing. The house dropped to 46 degrees. 46! Because I made a different stupid mistake. I was a character in my own horror movie. In this case, the horror was having to use about 4 blankets and sleeping in my winter coat. I bought a floor heater. Great idea. But the problem with this particular floor heater is it took up too much amperage, too many megahertz. And when I would have the thing on the maximum setting, which is what I really needed so that I could sleep without wearing a winter coat and 4 blankets, the circuit breaker kept popping. So then I would put it on the medium setting and it wouldn't, but it wasn't giving enough heat. So 8 days freezing. Then I got the service restored. That was, in 51 years or 50 plus years of life, that's maybe the dumbest thing that I've ever been part of. Now you could say, well, it wasn't really your fault. Well, it was, but it was also, I could say, the fault of them, whoever I was on the phone with, telling me that I wasn't allowed to switch a bill into my name. I'm paying the bill. It took this almost ridicularity, this ridiculous situation for them to transfer the bill into my name. So I had the issue with my car, with the insurance, and then I bought another car, a used car, and that's a problem. I'm sitting in a loaner right now, a courtesy car, and I feel like I've almost run out of the conventional mistakes to make, because earlier today I got a text message that didn't make any sense. It was also from National Grid telling me that I had an unpaid balance. Now, I was ready to hit the ceiling. Bro, I don't have an unpaid balance. I paid the thing in full. No, you know what? Let me just check into it. So I try to log into the account. I still can't log into the account. But I didn't ignore it. I didn't say, well, this is bullshit. No. I got to follow up. What do they mean by unpaid balance? The balance was paid in full. I've got an email telling me the balance was paid in full. I can't log in. I was supposed to be able to log in. The phone call with the guy before I got the service restored, he gave me the information so that I would be able to have my own account, blah, blah, blah. Couldn't log in. I call and they say, what's going on? And I explain what's happening. And they say, you haven't gotten an email yet? Telling you when your next bill might hit. He said, because it says here, you should get an email on January 6th. I guess that text message was just letting you know that, you're going to have to pay the January bill, whatever it was. The text message didn't make any sense. So I'm on the phone with this guy and he says, he gives me an email address that's not my email. I said, is that where the emails have been going? He said, yeah. I said, well, there you go. There's the problem. So we corrected that. He says, all right, now you're going to get the emails. Once you have a gas service interruption in the middle of winter, you don't even want to think about it. It's not something I ever believed was going to happen, but it happened. And my perception as 2024 is coming to a close, the number of dumb mistakes I made in 2023, the number of new, arguably not quite as dumb, mistakes that I made in 2024. I am excited to flip the calendar because now I feel like, not that nothing can stop me, But there are certain things that are never going to happen again because I made these mistakes. And yeah, it sucked. But fortunately, again, getting lucky, things never got as bad as they could have gotten. Could have gotten worse. When the weather was 15 degrees, if that had been the week, my house would have been 38 or 39 degrees. It's no joke. I would have had to, and yes, it was a major inconvenience because the hot water ran out almost immediately. Gas, everything gas. Where I also was fortunate was I was able to shower and get myself dressed and get ready in the clubhouse, because the clubhouse where I live has, locker room and showers. And so, yeah, it was an inconvenience, but it would have been that much worse because each time, there were a few times at my father's house where there actually was an issue with the hot water heater not working. It had nothing to do with a bill not being paid. And each time, 3 separate times over about a 15-year stretch of my life, that I had to shower using water that was either lukewarm or cold, I got sick each time. So you can imagine how idiotic it would be to try to shower with water that does not get any warmer than 45 or 50 degrees. No, can't do. I mean, yeah, you can do it. You can suffer, but especially when it's cold outside, you're asking for strep throat. You're asking for pneumonia because your resistance is going to be dropped. And if you're exposed to it, you're going to get it. You're going to get it almost invariably. I do think, though, it is important. And as much as I was aggravated, I have forgiven myself. I have forgiven myself for a lot of my trespasses in this year. A lot of the mistakes I made a lot of mistakes committed a lot of mistakes, and there were a lot of mistakes of omission as well. There were still some questions I should have asked. I should have pushed harder when I was on the phone with National Grid when they said we can't transfer it. That wasn't good enough. What I know now, that's not good enough. And I had a situation, for example, with, because as I said, I'm in a loaner car. I had a situation where I had to keep calling to get a loan. I said, listen, I bought a car. Don't tell me that you don't have a loaner. That's not good enough. I need a car. I am paying for a car that is operational, and that car is not. And I didn't just say, well, they're trying to help. No. This isn't Yoda, try not do. I'm not interested. There is no do not here. I need a fucking car. Like, what are we talking about? But I have forgiven myself. I'm wiping the slate clean. And I look forward to, I don't have any expectations. I feel like my podcast is pretty good. I'm working on upgrading would be the right word, my audio equipment for when I record at home. Because, in the car, the acoustics, the aerodynamics in the car, they're not that bad. Joey Swoll, who everybody, certainly people who know fitness, he's such a character, but he's just in a car. Maybe he has a microphone on his tank top or whatever, his t-shirt, whatever he wears. But I want to have a cleaner sound just for the audio so that when I record at home, it sounds like, whether it's Rogan or whether any of the other podcasts where you can see they've got really, really good equipment. All right, so I'm working on upgrading the equipment, but I am excited that I have 1,500 downloads just from Podbean. That's where I actually record the podcast, because Spotify took away their recording tools. I used to just record through Spotify. It was fantastic, and then if you're a small scale podcaster, they just basically gave you the fingers. Yeah, we don't have the tools. I mean, why? Because they're in business with this company called Riverside, and they wanted you to subscribe to Riverside. Well, you know what? F to the U. I don't want to subscribe to Riverside because I'm not going to use the service. Podbean, you can record from anywhere. It's easy to transfer, like you record video and then I get audio from the video. But my ideal situation will be that at some point in 2025, I am monetized and I do get a broader following and that people really enjoy what I do. And there are some episodes that I put out that have gotten a ton of clicks. I did an episode on the Sergio Leone Western, Once Upon a Time in the West, that I think it might have even got 100,000 views. Now, most people only watched 45 seconds. I'm not getting where somebody's watching a 30-minute video, watching the whole thing. But there are certain videos that I've put out and certain audio podcasts where people have gone out of their way to say, that was really good. And I'm like anybody else. I'm not trying to be a troll. I'm not a performance artist. I don't want people to listen to me or watch me because they hate my guts. I want them to watch or listen because maybe they find me funny or entertaining or both, and that, you know, he knows a lot of stuff. And I like the fact that he's not reading from a script. He's just going off the cuff. And it's like he's reading. That's the thing people have told me, because obviously a YouTube channel, you can see that it's just me looking at you. There are people that have maybe listened to the podcast, and then when they watch the YouTube, they're happily surprised. He's not reading from anything. He's just memorized all of this shit and he's throwing it at us. And I hope that it's interesting. I know that many of you, that 2024 didn't go the way that you would have wanted. You might still be sore or salty or aggravated about certain things that took place. There are things that I wish had gone differently. But the older I get, this is 100% truth. You have to be able to forgive yourself, even if you don't want to. You need to be able to move past things that maybe seemed like a bigger deal at the time than they actually turned up or turned into. And all you can do, you can resolve to do better. It doesn't mean you will, but you have to try. Or as the late, great filmmaker Stanley Donen said, you got to show up. You know, no matter what you do, or as he said, you can cast Cary Grant, you can cast Grace Kelly, you can have Audrey Hepburn, or Fred Astaire, or Gene Kelly, but you got to show up. You got to show up. And no matter how much life may lay you low, pull yourself back up. Because we all get it. We all get laid low. Even the people in the movie business, even billionaires. Everybody has moments of reflection where you say, what am I doing here? Why am I here? You know, the old Chevy Chase, why are you here? Why are any of us here? We have these existential crisis moments. We have these moments of soul searching. Just have to be nice. Be nice to yourself. It's okay if you didn't hit your goals for 2024. We got sidetracked with so many different things, right? Events around the world that we have nothing to do with can preoccupy us. Try to stay focused on things you have at least some ability to control. I know it's easier said than done, but I will tell you from experience, it has gotten easier as I have gotten older to only focus on things that I can control. And that doesn't mean that you shut the world out, but if you can avoid, for example, not wasting 3 hours of your day arguing with a stranger about the proper protein intake for a 250-pound powerlifter. Pro tip, don't get into that argument. If the guy says you got to eat less than 200 grams because any more than that, you're going to pickle your kidneys, don't engage in the argument. Just let it go. That's it. That's the best pro tip. Don't take part in every argument, every fight that you're invited to. Focus on yourself. Focus on your loved ones if you have. Focus on family if you have. And focus on doing things that you really enjoy in 2025. What drives you? What are your passions? Resolve to spend more time doing those things than you did in 2024. So sayonara to 2024. All best to every one of you out there, that this next year of 2025 will be your best year ever. Because maybe this is not my favorite day. I don't understand it. But I am looking forward to 2025. And God bless. I'll see you all on the other side. This has been episode 394 of the Confessions of a Not So Dangerous Mind podcast. I want to thank you all so much for downloading, for playing the podcast, for subscribing to the YouTube channel. It means an awful lot to me. And if you check this episode out on the YouTube channel and haven't done so already, please click like, subscribe, comment, share, turn on those notifications. Or if you catch the episode on the audio platforms such as Podbean, Spotify, iTunes, or the others in which we're hosted, same general rule applies. Click like, subscribe, share, and turn on those notifications. I'll be back with a new episode on January 1st, 2025. Until then, have a wonderful night. Peace out.